They're reveling in the chaos and the dysfunction of the Republican Party, and they're laughing their asses off and high-fiving
Oh shit,
each other. Excuse me if that
she
was a
sees
curse
me.
word. But
Oh
in the
no,
end,
she got me. She got my number there. Ah, ah, she got me good, guys. Let's look at the politics because some things happened. Some fun things, some wild things, some silly things, and lots and lots and lots of stupid things. Because the politics is stupid. We got no more Speaker of the House. What are we going to do, folks? This is Kevin McCarthy. He's bad. He is a Republican Speaker of the House, and he got removed because he kept the government working, which you'd think would be like the thing that he would do most of the time. Most of the time, he ought to keep the government working, but apparently Republicans don't want the government to work, some of them anyway, and so the worst ones got rid of him. Shortest speaker term ever, it's true. Only one to ever get like booted like this. So it took 15 votes to get McCarthy voted in because they didn't like him. The hard MAGA crowd doesn't like the government or any of the people in it. So they tend to gum up the works and make it worse. McCarthy did a halfway smart thing in making a deal with the Democrats to keep the government open because that's less painful than shutting the government down. The MAGA crowd loves pain. They like it. They want it. They want some more of it. So when he didn't cause maximum pain, they revolted, like 10 of them, and they called up for a vote to get rid of him. And ironically, the Dems all stuck together to get rid of him, because when your enemy's making a mistake, don't interrupt them. Honestly, now we don't know who the next speaker will be, and there's a couple of other goobers who are trying to go for it. Jim Jordan, terrible person, just the worst kind of person. And Steve Scalise, oh my god, worst person, ironically. Hard to believe, but yes, worse than Jim Jordan. Then we have the man himself, the Don. GOP lawmakers vote Trump as for House Speaker after McCarthy's ousting. So, this was a conspiracy theory that came up back in 2016. Technically, it's possible to vote anyone in for House Speaker. They could, technically, vote me for House Speaker if they felt like it. But it's unlikely because none of them know who I am, regardless of my millions of views. Technically, they could vote for Trump. This was a thing that Hillary fans came up back in 2016 when she lost to Trump. They thought, hey, let's vote Hillary as Speaker of the House. Put her as and third in line to the presidency. Then Trump will obviously do something to get impeached. Then we impeach Trump, toss out his VP with him, because he would obviously be involved, and we'd toss out both of them, then President Hillary. That was a wild-ass plan made by like 3 or 4 online goobers. Nobody really seriously thought about it. No sitting members of the House of Representatives thought that should happen, and none of them ever pushed for it. It was just a silly thing that goobers did on Twitter. We call it X these days, but it was called Twitter back then. So that was a silly thing that we all found out could happen. Now, I'm thinking this might happen. Why might this happen? Why might people vote for Trump? Because, well, first of all, they're frightened of him. They do not want to piss him off, and they don't want to piss off all his fans. So it's entirely possible that they bring up his name, Maytag, Marjorie Taylor Greene, brings him up as a possibility, puts him in there, and he gets enough votes to pass. At this point, he would become the Speaker of the House, which is a ton of work. He doesn't want to do that work. He doesn't want to be in charge of the House of Representatives. He doesn't want to do that. That's a ton of work. That's a ton of rules. He has to like bang the gavel, and he wants to do that part. He wants to bang that gavel, and he wants to be in charge and look important and stand in front of the camera and stand in front of all the people. But he doesn't want to do all the work. There's a ton of work involved. Nancy Pelosi was really good at it. McCarthy's not very good at it. Sorry, boss. Well, you did have the shortest tenure, you know? So it kind of proves that you're not very good at it, doesn't it? The amount of work would chase him off, but I don't think he'd do all that work. I think would just go complete 100%. Hitler just got appointed to chancellor. Because if I remember correctly, he was appointed to chancellor. He didn't win an election. So then he would just take over the government. This would give him authority and power, and he would use it poorly and to benefit himself, which is a thing he's known to do. Donald Trump will use all the power he has to benefit himself and hurt anyone else. That would be a very big problem for democracy. Yeah, you're right, Shincinto. That is a problem. But he may see it as a downgrade from president, which would make him not want to do it out of the very strong ego that he has. So this could happen within a week. Like, they could be voting on Trump to be Speaker of the House next week. They could be doing that. And he could win within like a week and be the third most powerful, or third in line to the presidency. Not to give him plans, or ideas, but it would make it harder to prosecute him, wouldn't it? Oh, how can you prosecute the Speaker of the House? This is completely unacceptable. He could throw a whole bunch of actual literal wrenches into the works by doing so, and then he would be a member of the government. He could use his power and influence and authority to try and stop the governments that are prosecuting him right now. So if he does it, I think that will be why, so that he can throw gum in the works, throw monkey wrenches in to stop the current handful of indictments, slow these things down and get rid of them and make them go away, and then use his position to like improve himself and give himself more power. He would give himself, as the Speaker of the House, more power, and then he would start tossing people out left and right. I would imagine this would go really, 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 really badly, really fast. It's unlikely that it will happen. It goes back to the unelected bureaucrats and the VP candidates. But yeah, he would use everything he could to reshape the entire United States government to benefit himself. I don't think the Speaker of the House has really that much power, but he would just take it. He would just take it. He would take the power, and he would create new reasons for him to have it. And some of the people might back him up and not get in his way. There is a path through this to dictatorship for him to be the dictator. So that's why I think that he is thinking about doing it. Texas Representative Troy Nehls, probably a piece of shit, said in a statement Tuesday afternoon, his first order of business when the House reconvenes will be to nominate Donald J. Trump for Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. President Trump is the greatest president of my lifetime. How long you been alive? That sounds unlikely. Has a proven record of putting America first? Not quite. He puts himself first. And will make the House great again. God, no. He will be an absolute dictator. Greg Stoobs, don't trust him, followed suit. Donald Trump for Speaker. Next speaker does not have to be a current member of the House. That's what I was talking about a minute ago. It's not the first time that Trump has been floated as a nominee for speakership either. In January, as McCarthy struggled to garner enough votes to secure his speakership, Gates cast a ballot for Trump, even though he wasn't actually serious about it. He just didn't want to vote president. In a gaggle with the reporters on the Hill after the vote Tuesday, Gates said he'd support several members of Congress should they decide to run for the post, including GOP reps Tommy Emmer, Mike Johnson, Jody Arlington, Kevin Hearn, and Steve Scalise, none of whom voted to oust McCarthy. When asked about it, Trump said, "All I can say is we'll do whatever's best for the country and for the Republican Party." That doesn't mean he's going to do it. Well, you hope there's some GOP with integrity that don't go for that shit. Well, the GOP is bent right now. They are tied in knots, and if Trump comes out and says, yes, Gates did the right thing, or I'm running for speaker, it will break the entire GOP. It's broken. It will fly apart at the hinges if he does so.
President, who should be speaker? Who should be speaker? Who should be speaker, Mr. President?
A lot of people have been calling me about speaker. All I can say is we'll do whatever's best for the country and for the Republican Party. We have some great people. I just want to say we have some great people.
Would you take the job?
A lot of people have asked me about it. I'm focused. We're leading. I don't know you. I'm sure you don't read too much in the papers, but we're leading by 50 points for president.
No, you're not leading.
My focus is totally on that. If I can help them during the process, I would do it. But we have some great people in the Republican Party that could do a great job as Speaker. Well, what about
Margaret Taylor Greene called for you to be Speaker yesterday. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think she's a wonderful woman, Marjorie, and a lot of other people have told me that too. I'll do whatever it is to help, but my total focus is being president and, quite honestly, making America great again.
Okay, so I don't think he's going to do it. I mean, if he wins, I think he will. If he actually wins the vote for Speaker, I think he will go and do it. But I don't think he's going to push for it. I don't think he's going to start bending ears and going out there and campaigning for it. I don't think he's going to go to the individual representatives and be like, hey, vote for me, let's make this a thing. He's not going to push it from his end. I think that action would wreck the entire GOP. It really would. Because there are so many people angry about what Gates has done. Him as a speaker seems problematic. Yes, it does. It's very. He will use that to springboard, to catapult himself into dictator. And I don't even think I'm exaggerating when I say that. I think him being selected as the Speaker of the House will catapult him toward full dictatorship. And I'm not even kidding. Matt Gaetz has to say over here, with this actual fascist over here, this is Steve Bannon. He is a literal fascist who invented Gamergate, who created Gamergate. So you guys can appreciate him for that.
Far right.
Far right.
And I'm thinking, okay, look at let's talk about this for a moment. Okay, Nancy is not a hard right intransigent lawmaker, but our Venn diagram overlaps
Didn't
around
she vote
spending.
to send me to federal prison for
I like
4
the
months?
Constitution. I'm a constitutional.
Yeah, she probably did, Steve Bannon, because you're a criminal. You're like really high up there in the tiers of criminality. You, Steve Bannon, are a nightmare monster for our country. You are one of the most, on a list of bad guys. Steve Bannon's way the fuck up there. He might not be number one, but he's real fucking close. She did vote to send you to federal prison for 4 months because you're a bad dude who is a bad person who harms American people. And I'd really like you to not do that.
Okay.
It's getting hot.
My appellate lawyer would disagree about that, but that's not a
But far right. And I'm thinking.
Let's hear what he has to say right here. I want to hear this.
Most of it in the press probably thought we would have shut down yesterday, too. But no, we did not.
Were you confident we wouldn't shut down?
I was confident I could get something on the floor to make sure the option that we would not.
But
that
you
our
weren't sure it was
military.
gonna pass.
Well, I wasn't sure it was going to pass. You want to know why? Because the Democrats tried to do everything they can not to let it pass.
See, that's a lie, folks. That is an absolute lie from McCarthy. McCarthy needs Democrats to keep the government open. He goes to them. He blames them for the shutdown, first of all. The shutdown is McCarthy's fault. He's the one in charge of it. He's the one running the show. It's his fault that the government is about to shut down. So in order to keep it from shutting down, he needs Democrat votes. So he goes to them. He makes a deal with them. He takes the hardest far-right stuff from Matt Gaetz out of the bill so the Democrats will vote for it. And then after they voted with him, he goes on TV and blames them for the shutdown that he caused. So you know what happens next? They don't back him up when it comes to Speaker. It's shocking that the Dems are actually playing the politics game properly. They're actually playing it properly.
Democrats were the ones who voted for this in a larger number than Republicans to keep the continuing resolution
She's
alive.
giving them grief about it.
Did you watch the floor yesterday?
Oh, yes.
Okay, then
she's giving him crap.
Against it.
Okay, most of it in the press probably
Because
thought we would have.
he's full of shit. He's full of it. And it doesn't matter that he's full of it. He's going to go on TV and blame the Democrats because we all know how politics works, right? How does the American government work? If the Democrats do something bad, fuck the Democrats. If the Democrats do something good, fuck the Democrats, wasn't good enough. If the Republicans do something bad, fuck the Democrats for letting them do it. And if the Republicans do something good, fuck the Democrats for not doing it themselves. Though that's how American politics works. This guy's just playing a regular, normal American politics right there, is what I think he's doing. Because he did that, they actually played politics back. It only would have taken like 5 of them to vote to keep him in. And that is what a civil Democrat would do. That's what he was expecting them to do. He was expecting a few of them to be on his side just to avoid chaos. Democrats don't want chaos. They don't want to do 15 more votes for speaker. You know, they don't want that. They don't want Donald Trump to be the Speaker of the House. They don't. So he was hoping that maybe, even though he talked shit about them, they would vote for him. They didn't, because they all stuck together, which is odd. Usually they don't do such things.
Amazing part of this is that the Democrats, for weeks, Karine Jean-Pierre, the Republicans are going to shut down the government. Nobody's going to get a paycheck. We're not going to be able to pay bills. Ordinary Americans.
She's right.
The horrible
So
Republicans. Then what happens is you get Kevin McCarthy, who avoids the shutdown. He avoids the shutdown. He does whatever he's got to do to avoid it. And what do the Democrats do? They vote, all of them in unison, to hang Kevin McCarthy.
We saved him.
No, you didn't save him.
Really,
You
on
sunk
Saturday,
him.
we saved him.
You sunk Kevin McCarthy. Now stop it right now. The Democrats stick with each other. The Republicans shoot within the tent. And that is the problem. And at a time when we've got crime with no solution, nobody cares. The progressives are the one who brought in these Soros-funded DAs. The progressive Democrats are the ones who said, we don't want bail. We want these criminal dirtbags running around town and re-victimizing other people. They're not solving the problem. So what do? They're reveling in the chaos and the dysfunction of the Republican Party, and they're laughing their asses off and high-fiving each other. Excuse me if that was a curse word. But in the end...
She got me. She got my number there. She got me good, guys. Oh, yeah. She got me. Well, she was correct. It's just that she's complaining about all the good things. When she is telling the truth, she hates it. The government continues going, and she's very unhappy with that. She can't cry because of all her Botox injections. You might be onto something there, KVP. She can't cry anymore. Physically incapable of such. Matt Gaetz hasn't thought any of this through. That sounds about right. I believe that is a factual headline. He hadn't thought this through at all. See, Democrats stood united and made exactly zero efforts to save McCarthy, who kept lobbing barbs at the opposition party in the hopes that enough of his fellow Republicans would rally around him. So his plan was to ask Democrats for their help, and after he gets it, he needs to insult the Democrats so that the Republicans will like him more. It's a really weird plan. Politics is complicated, but apparently that's a strategy. I think you call that. Hey, I really need your help. Thank you. You piece of shit. You guys see that? I just called them a piece of shit. Vote for me. It's complicated. It's a really weird roundabout strategy, but apparently it did not work this time. You call that a bad strategy. Okay. If you say so. It didn't work. So I think you're right. It is a bad strategy. According to Gaetz, we've got to move on to the next step. We are not at the end of this process. At most, we're approaching halftime on what the coup, the takeover, the appointing Trump chancellor. Is that what we're at halftime for? We've got to assemble a governing coalition. Republicans cannot govern at all. They're incapable. They don't know how. They don't know what that word means. We have to build from a place of trust. Again, madness. They don't trust anything. They aren't real. This was Rich coming from Gaetz, getting tirades. Great. Decade ago, they fired the last guy that tried to govern. Yeah, I know, right? The guy who came together in the middle, who said, no, we're going to drop these hard right parts, but we're going to come together in the middle so we can keep the government going. Yeah, that guy's out. It was all about getting attention from you, McCarthy said as the clock headed towards 8 p.m. That's not governing. That's not becoming a member of Congress. Yeah, he's right this time. Wish he'd be right more often. As for Gaetz' co-conspirators who brought the rhetoric that McCarthy had abandoned his pledges to his right flank and deserved to be punished, the freshly deposed speaker used language usually reserved for private chats. They don't get to say they're conservative because they're angry and they're chaotic. Angry and chaotic, that's the MAGAs, man. Angry and chaotic. It's what they do. It's what they got. It's what they bring. Might be the point. Chaos begets coverage. The more Gaetz and company can get on television, the more money they can raise. That cash could prove useful for Gaetz, who isn't expected to slum it in the House forever. He's said to be eyeing a run for Florida governor as early as 2026, when DeSantis hits his term limit. Why would Gaetz do this? Why would it seem like he's shooting himself in the foot? He's shooting his own party in the foot. And that is because fascists like Gaetz can't govern, and they can't be coherent. It's impossible. Gaetz is a fascist, and he can't be sensible. If you were a sensible person, you wouldn't be a fascist. If you could reason with fascists, there wouldn't be any fascists. This is why it seems like he's losing to himself. He is an asshole, that's true. But there are lots of assholes who aren't fascists. You can be one or the other. You don't have to be both. All fascists are assholes, but not all assholes are fascists, I suppose. There's a Venn diagram there. Because he is a true believer in literal fascism. He can't be normal. He can't be middle of the road. He cannot be seen cavorting with the people in the middle and the people on the left. It's not allowed. He is only ideology and no governance. No governing. He is all ideology, no governing, which is what we saw yesterday. He got rid of the guy who was governing, and that is what he will continue to do. That's what he will continue to push for. That is what he will continue to lead, if you call that leadership. That is the way he will go. That is the direction he will go. And he will try to take as many of us with him as possible. And I think it will only get worse if they make Trump the Speaker of the House. I think that will get much, much worse. I think the entire House becomes just the place where Trump holds his ideology, and they will just revel in all of his incoherent nonsense. And that incoherent nonsense pushes towards fascism, and it will be a bad time. It will be a bad time for everybody. So what happens next? Next week they start voting for somebody. Honestly, what I think is, unless anything crazy, if nothing crazy happens, if they just get Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan, what happens is he's just kind of a normal Republican type guy, and he pushes for the normal Republican type things in the House, and then they lose the House in 24. They do. They're highly chaotic. Trump is not going to win the next presidency. And that will down ballot. All of that will happen. And Mr. Biden will have a House and a Senate, and everything will be fine. That's the best case scenario, of course. Worst case, they elect Trump as a House Speaker of the House next week, and he goes full authoritarian. So keep watching the news, or else they will catch you with the stupid. Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. If you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. This is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.